For the scope of this demo, I'm going to go ahead here. As you see, when I run go test, I have these different files that they successfully test, and I want to show now what a workflow would look like for me to make these changes. So if I do git branch, we'll see where I'm at. You'll see I'm on main here. So first, I'm going to create a new branch. We'll call this workflows. And then now that I'm on a new branch, I'm going to come into my directory up here and I'm going to create a new directory. This is important. It has to be .github/workflows, and that'll be the directory where all your workflows run. Now, the name of your workflows inside of that do not matter. Anything in here that you configure to run based off an event, which we'll get into, will run. And I'll also show you do have to have it set up for the repository that you're running. So first here, I'm going to go ahead and do this test. So I'll just call this test.yaml so it's clear. Just always name it based off what the job is going to be doing. So first, we're going to want to name it. Let's do run go tests. And you'll see I have Copilot prompting me. And this, so the on is that event I was just talking about. This is basically saying on what action or event do you want this to run? So I'm going to do push. So that means anytime that a branch gets pushed, we're going to run the action on that branch. So we'll do that. And then you'll see it actually prompts me here. So this is going to do go, or it creates a job. So this is the next part of the YAML. And we'll have a test here, and then what we're running on, so this is Ubuntu latest. So Git actions are just running Docker containers, or I assume it's Docker containers. It's running containers where these instances are spun up and then it configures to run the job. You can have a preset action, which is this use this. You can actually find action setup -go, or I could put in a shell script here if I wanted. So lots of flexibility there. Um, I actually am going to change some of this. So I'm going to come into this section and change that to Go version 1.21. And then now we're going to define our steps. So it's basically, this is setting what our job's going to be running on. And then now what steps do we want to be done? And so I'm going to copy one that I have here, and then I'll just walk through what this does. So this is saying use checkout, and that's for checking out the GitHub code, set up Go, get the version. So we can ignore that stuff. Now we're going to cd to the source monkey. This is called monkeylang that it's creating a compiler for. So we cd there, do go install to get the dependencies, and then you'll see the command is different. So it's using the working directory, each command reset. So we source cd to source monkey, and then do go test, and we output the result test results matrix. So we can actually extract this as an extract object if we'd like, or artifact is what they're called. And so here you'll see it uses upload artifact, and we put it into our GitHub repository as an artifact. So now when we make a push, it should run this and then give the result back, and we'll see a positive or failed. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'll do git add added workflow for testing. I need a cd. Where am I? Always run git status before git add dot. I didn't do it there, but it's a good practice. So you'll see I deleted the ones that were prior. We have test.yaml. So they had YML. This one's YAML, so it shows as different, but that all looks good. So I'm going to add it and then run the commit again, and then we'll do git push. And now that pushed our new branch. So let's come into our repository, go over to workflows. Okay, and now this is running. So while this is pending, I'm actually going to come into settings. If you go to settings, actions, general, and then allow all actions, that's how you get actions to run if this is not on by default for you. So quick thing for you to check if it's not working. Now you'll see here, so these are prior tests that have passed and failed. And then the yellow one here is on the workflows branch. So this is the branch we're working off. And you'll see it's running right now. and there we go, job completed. I can actually click into here and see each of those steps that we had defined, and the result looks good. And this would fail if the test didn't pass. So that means that our tests are passing, so we're good. So now, let's say that's a developer just pushed changes. They can run their test here, and we know that they ran it. So the developer should be running Go tests like I did from the CLI. But this way, anyone that's approving this change going to development or prod, wherever it's going next, they also saw that the test passed. And if that test passed, we can set the pull requests to not be allowed to pass and to be merged unless all get actions pass. So that's kind of a workflow. Let's actually go in here quickly. So if we go into branches, you'll see there's a branch rule set. Is this where it's at? Or is it rules? They just changed this, I believe, the past couple months. But yeah, so I won't go through it in this video, but you can create rules on branches. So I could say my dev branch can be merged without any approvals, but my prod branch has to have approvals, has to have GPG signing, whatever bells and whistles you want to make sure that you're required to have, you can set there. So that's how we would set this up. And then now, let's say I'm the developer. I did this. My test looks good. I want to now do a pull request. So now I pull this into main, added testing.yaml for Go tests, and then create pull request. I would now have another developer come in here and approve it. And again, this is where that rule set, like I said, this would fail now if my testing did not pass. So I don't even have a choice but to merge or to merge it unless it's successful. So if we come in here, files changed, you'll see there's three, two I deleted, and then one is adding that test.yaml. We're actually going to add this release.yaml now. Okay, so far we've added test.yaml that will test our changes, but we want to now, once we push to our main branch, we want to automate that build process and the release process. So this is really important, as I alluded to in the beginning of the video. We want to always build in a vacuum. If I'm the developer and I build on my local machine, say I'm building a web app, we actually ran this problem all the time with NPM. We used to, at a company I started at as an intern, we would build locally our npm build and then use AWS S3 sync to copy it to S3. So I would build it and then someone else would go build it, and we were using Git, so it was okay, but we all had different npm versions and it would break all the time. So that's a perfect example where you want that npm build to be run in your Git actions. So now you define the requirements of that environment and the container that it's running on and all of your npm dependencies, and then you know every single time that they're the same. And if you have to make changes, you change the code, and then if things break, you know exactly what changed. So that's why we do this. So now, back into this workflows, I'm going to go ahead and create the release.yaml. And this one, we will go through. This is going to have a few different steps we want to go through. So go ahead and name it. Um, this is actually build and release, even though it just is called release. And so what I'll do here is on push, I actually don't want branches. So what you can do, this branches, I'll talk about this quickly. The branches you can set, so like you might have a workflow that only runs on your prod branch for deploying to prod. Actually, that happens quite frequently if you're using, you can set different secrets. So if you're deploying to prod and you're deploying to dev, then you would have a prod and a dev action to be able to run. You can't, I don't believe you can set to use different variables depending on that branch. So you do need a different workflow for each branch, but not a big deal. But so in this case, this would only run when changes happen to main. But we're not going to do that in this one. We're actually going to do first workflow dispatch. So this doesn't need any configuration underneath it. But what that does is it gives me a little button. So I will show you, I'll show you actually once I push this, the two. So we'll have our workflow dispatch, and then we will also do on a push for tags. So this is where the releases comes into play. And so this is basically, it's anything v star dot star, so v 1.0, 1.2, 2.2, anything that fits that pattern will run this workflow. And then we have, I'm going to copy most of this. A lot of this will be kind of irrelevant because it's so specific to what this job is doing, but I'll go through the high level kind of structure of this. So again, we have our jobs. We do have permissions here. This is for giving the action ability to write to the repository. Then we have our jobs. So again, it's going to be this one's going to be called build, running on Ubuntu latest, and we'll check out the code. Here's our build. So this is where we actually build our source code into a compiled file, and then once that is built, we set the working directory, and then we zip the file. And then once we've zipped it, we create a release here. So this is actually interacting with the GitHub API. This secrets.github token is automatically available in any Git action. The repository sets it for you. And so we're going to reference the tag that is set for this run and attach the binary as a zip file to it. So upload the release asset. Here we go. And we'll see what the result of this is in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Oh, do not want to do that. I'll say that I'm adding release workflow. Go ahead and push that. And now again, remember, we set workflow dispatch and push tags. So we did not set on push for any changes or for our workflow branch. So this should not run like our other one did. So now I'm going to go ahead and refresh, and you'll see here files changed. Here's our release.yaml file. Let's go back. Start Git action running. Okay, so we made a change. Our test is now running because we made a change to the workflows branch, but the release is not. And so over here on the workflows, you can see, ignore that there's 3 here. There should only be 2, but that's because I had the one prior that I deleted. So now here's my run go tests. Actually, sorry, it's upload go tests. Let me reload that. Okay, it did finish. So if you look here, you'll see we can rerun jobs, but there's no option. I can't just go in here and trigger this to run because we didn't define workflow dispatch. But if I go to build and release now, I can run this workflow with this button here, and I can select what branch I run it on. So if I wanted to test it and build a release that was separate from a branch, I could set it here. And then we're going to ignore that for now. We're going to pull requests. Let's go ahead and merge this now. And so this will push into main, but again, that's still not going to trigger our release. So here we trigger, again, testing gets run here because we have it set on any branch anytime a push is made. But now our code's live in our main. So now let's go to releases. We're going to generate a new release here, draft a new release. We'll increment the tag by 1. So we'll call it o.1.4. Create the new tag. It'll be based off of main. And then I'll call this YouTube demo of Git Actions. And you can actually just generate the release notes with this button. That'll just pull from the commit history. And then we can go ahead and publish release. And now let's go back into our actions. And there we go. Okay, so I had to tag this myself. So I ran git tag and git push origin with that tag, and then it creates the release. Sorry for that mix up there. I'd make a few changes to the way that this was structured, and forgot that I did that one. So lastly, now you'll see the workflow has run successfully. Here's our build. So now if we come into releases, you'll see here, here's our release v0.1.5 that I just created. And attached to it is monkey.zip and the source code. That'll wrap up this video. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoyed, and let me know what other videos you guys would like to see. Thanks for watching.